All right. Well, welcome everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Noobs, where we meet students and recent grads in creative advertising and design to help other students and rising creatives learn new tips, tricks, and advice to help each other out in this crazy game of advertising and design. So, welcome here, Ely German, who's an art director at Havas, Chicago, and as she self-describes, maybe she's an elder noob. So, Ely, great to have you and welcome.
Thank
Yeah.
you for having me. Yes, elder noob. 3 years in the ad industry, so
That's awesome. That's
I'm
awesome.
reaching my noob last days.
Yeah, as we were chatting and kind of setting up here. Ellie described herself as an elder noob, and then I was like, oh, I want to be an elder noob too. Um,
Everyone's welcome to the club. Labels, they fluctuate, definitions, we
that's
can
awesome.
morph things. So you're
That's
invited.
awesome. I love it. Speaking of introductions, we're also being joined today by Katie Wilson, who's our marketing manager uh, and guru of all things cactus reputation. If you like our social media, if you like the things that Cactus is putting out into the world, you have Katie Wilson to thank for that. So, Katie, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, I'm excited to be joining the conversation. I'm an ad geek, longtime ad geek, and podcast fan. So this is kind of combining two of my favorite things. And I'm excited to be joining the conversation today with you, Ellie. And I've got a couple of rapid fire questions to ask you to kind of get things going before we get into the meat of the conversation. So I'll ask you these, and then you reply kind of with your first response, or if you need a couple seconds. But the whole point is to kind of like be reactionary and say kind of what's top of mind. We do these here at our agencies at Cactus, and people love them. So,
Perfect. Let's go.
first question: favorite TV show?
Succession.
Ooh, that's a good answer.
I love the drama, and I always joke that it's this show about switching rooms because that's all it happens. All that happens. The whole show is what room are we in? Where can we go next to talk about the next topic? And I think that's hilarious.
Okay, invisibility or super strength?
Invisibility. Because I am not very strong and I've gotten through life perfectly fine. So I don't think we need to be lifting a lot of things. But invisibility sounds cool because you can like get some tea and like sneak in places maybe.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that answer. First celebrity crush?
Zac Efron. Although High School Musical, it was just the time that I was growing up at, it was mandatory to have a crush on Zac Efron. Today, I think Zac Efron doesn't even look like Zac Efron.
The next question is place you most want to travel?
Place I most want to travel? Oh, that's really, really hard. I want to travel. I want to see the whole world, honestly. It's a very overwhelming question because it's a matter of like, where do you start? You know what I mean? I have I've never touched the Asia part of the world, so it'd probably have to be somewhere there. Really, I'm like curious about like Japan. I see a lot of cool things from there for people's travels from there, but it's a hard question because everywhere. I want to see the world.
Japan would be awesome. I just watched Shogun, and it's like, oh my god.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I
Japan's
hear
like
good
on the
things
list.
about that one.
Cake or pie?
Cake or pie? It depends on the cake. It depends on the pie. They're not all the same. Like I won't. I think cheap pie is good. Cheap cake is not good. I don't know if that's any insight to your answer. And then I hate cherry, so no cherry pie.
Nice.
Big dogs or small dogs?
Small dogs. I have a Chihuahua. He's very barky. He has all of the sass in the world. There's not a single person, dog, living or object thing that he does not bark at. It's super annoying, but he's so loving. He loves me so, 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 so much. So I feel like in the balance of the universe, all of the hate that he puts out to the world, he balances out with love for me.
That's awesome.
And that's all that matters. If something ever happened to me, he'd be screwed. So, very dependent.
Brilliant.
Boy.
That's
Aw,
brilliant.
that's sweet.
Let's blow up.
Well, cool. I mean, we know that it can be intimidating to be on a podcast, so that's just like something new we're gonna do to kind of get everyone comfortable, kind of get out of your own head. But I know that Norm wants to talk to you a little more, so he's got some questions for you. So I'll hand it over to him.
Well, yeah. So speaking of which, of Chicago, Ellie,
Mm-hmm.
tell us a little bit about where you're at and like how you got to
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Okay. My
Where
journey.
is there, and how'd you get there?
My journey. It all started in 2000 in Buenos Aires, Argentina. My mom gave birth to me. I came out drawing. It's like a half truth because, yes, I'm from Buenos Aires. I'm born in 2000. And I genuinely spent the first 14 years of my life in Buenos Aires just like being a creative child. It's so cliche for us creatives to be like, I was born with it. But I truly just was always interested in anything and everything that was creative. I wanted to get my hands on, whether it was like drawing, baking, playing violin, even like the only sport I was ever interested in was gymnastics because it was kind of artistic. Everything else I would not touch with a 10-foot pole. Anything artistic I was in. So that was 14 years I spent in Argentina. And then I moved to the US with my parents to Houston when I was 14. Um, did high school in Houston. And then I went to the University of Texas in Austin for college. Was a studio art major.
Oh,
Yes,
really? Okay. So you didn't get the sort of advertising design bug there.
no. So my story is that I was a studio art major, emphasis in photography, painting, print, sort of like the 2Ds.
Yep.
Um, and what I, interestingly enough, in this podcast, talking about how you get into the industry, what I was thinking about when I started college was, okay, I'm signing up for this 4-year program. The goal of this is sort of to like come out and get a job. I have no idea what I'm doing. How am I a freshman standing here looking at 4 years down the road? COVID was going to happen. Like there are so many things that were going to change in the world. And I was asking myself that freshman year, how can I prepare myself to be in a good place after the 4 years so that I'm confident enough to like go out and get a job and I have those opportunities. And it was a really overwhelming question that a lot of students ask themselves. And the answer that I kind of gave myself that held me strong, got me multiple job offers when I graduated, which is the best, like you want to have options, was to just put myself out there every single time there was an opportunity. It was so opportunity
Wow.
hungry. There was not a single semester. I didn't wait until like senior year to get an internship. There was not a single semester that I wasn't like doing something outside of class, whether it was an internship, a freelance opportunity, a project, an exhibition. I did all sorts of things. I did like murals, I did animation. I just like went everywhere and did everything. And with that, I got exposure to things like working with clients, working in ad agency, like things in marketing departments, sort of adjacent things to the industry. And I got a lot under my belt. So when I graduated, I had a portfolio that was very sort of um, unpolished, but in the best ways possible. Like you could tell that I didn't know what I was doing, but you could tell I had
Yeah.
passion and energy.
Was your portfolio is it still online? Your original portfolio?
My original portfolio is not, but I
Okay.
can describe it to you.
Yeah, 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 please. I think that would help our
Yes,
listeners understand
it
kind
was
of.
a
Yeah.
it was a landing page reel, and it mixed like marketing kind of things that I had done with my art stuff. I had a lot of really cool art footage. And the thing about my art stuff is that every time I did art, it came with this sort of video format that was very ad like I if I did a mural, there was like a there was a video of me like designing the mural and then like painting the mural and then working with the people that I hired to make the mural. And so all of that just like gave me really good like footage to put a really good highlight reel on my portfolio. And then it had an art tab, and then it had like a I called it like graphic design because I didn't know what else it was called. At that point, I didn't even know what an art director was. By the way, I'm an art
Yeah.
director. Did I say that already?
I think we did, but yeah, okay. Yeah,
Okay.
cool.
So a little bit of a ramble, but essentially I have this like super random portfolio that the one thing it has is passion, energy, drive,
Yeah.
vision, but it is a mess.
Yeah.
And
Very eclectic kind of,
very
I think.
eclectic.
Yeah.
And now, kind of like being a little bit past that, I can kind of see that for people, probably what responded to really positively to that was that I was going to be someone that was going to come in and like do and just like take initiative, because that's what my portfolio showed at the time. And then when I did get the interviews, I had so much good experience to reference because I had actual things. And it all goes back to this mentality that I had, I think, during college, that I really was so opportunity hungry. I was saying yes to everything that came before me. If I didn't find something in front of me, I would look for it. And if I didn't find something after I looked for it, I would make it up.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Well,
would
you're
literally,
making me, yeah, you're kind of making me, so something I talk to my
yeah,
students about, because we
yeah,
were talking a little bit as we were setting up that I'm an adjunct teacher and pretty involved in the University of Colorado Boulder advertising program.
that's
And
amazing.
something that I teach up there as an adjunct. And so, and I guest speak at various schools and stuff like that. So something that I like to talk to students about is hustling, right? So it's like,
Hustling.
how do you in your own way, and it's hard. A lot of
Yeah,
students, maybe they're not as extroverted as you
yeah.
appear to be, kind of more on the extroverted side of the
Well,
scale, and some
you make
people
it up.
are. Yeah, yeah, but it's like you have to do it in your own way and what works for
Yeah,
you. Like it can
totally.
look it could look a little different, um, but you do have to kind of put yourself out there. And
Yeah,
I think with design and advertising and creativity, it's about learning and about putting something up on the wall, and
totally.
getting the feedback and
Yeah,
the criticism, and getting better, and not being afraid to kind of share your
yeah.
work.
And
This isn't studio. It's not studio art, right? So
right.
maybe you could talk. Do you have any thought? Like, did you have any other friends that you saw doing the same thing that maybe have slightly different
Yeah,
personalities, or
I did.
reflect on that beyond just your own,
Yeah, I
experience?
did. And what I will say, I think what set me free to just like do and not hold back a lot was I kept telling myself, if I fail, that's what's expected.
Oh, wow.
No one expects me. I'm just a 20 something. Even when I was a
Yeah,
junior, it was like, I'm supposed to fail. No one's expecting me to like have it all figured out.
kind
If
of a
you get
nothing to like you have nothing to lose.
nothing to lose, it's
Yeah,
completely okay to fail. The worst case scenario is you don't do it,
yeah,
because you don't get the experience, you don't get the opportunity, you get nothing. If you do it and you fail, at least you get experience, at least you get
yeah.
connection. If you
It
do it
seems
and
like
you
you
don't
built
like
up
it,
you
you
sort
don't
of
get anything. Yeah.
yeah, it seems like you intuitively built up this muscle of,
Hmm.
I think another thing is like not being so nothing has to be perfect, in your first portfolio. It's not going to be, even
Yeah.
if you're the most talented sort of graduate level
It was not
um,
perfect.
copywriter or art director, your portfolio is still a junior level portfolio.
Yeah.
And so don't, at some point you just have to like, this is the work where it's at. I have to put it on my portfolio or put it on the wall and get to it, like, and learn from it. And then it's about the repetitions, right? It's about the sort
Totally.
of, at bats. You have to get a lot of at bats. There's sort of
100.
this saying of like, I had this creative director years ago that said, you have to literally do 1,000 layouts before you do the first good one. Like you might think on your 700th that that's a good one.
Totally.
He's like, I guarantee you it's not. You have to do 1,000,
Yeah.
designs in Illustrator before you do your first good one. And I
Well,
just think there's something about the reps, right? And so like the sooner you start building those reps, the sooner you get going,
yeah.
the further ahead you are.
I completely agree. And you know what's crazy is when you think about, actually, Myra, our CEO currently, told me this recently. She was like, it's crazy when you think about a sports person. I'm not into sports, maybe a basketball player. When you think about how much time they spent on the court winning versus how much time they spend in their life playing basketball, like the ratio
Yeah.
of time winning versus time spent practicing is ridiculous. Like it's this much that they spent winning. And for some reason in creative advertising, like it doesn't necessarily translate. You feel like you can show up and just like do it. It takes that much. Like you have to get that practice. If whether that is applying to a contest and just like not winning or
Yeah.
raising your hand for things and like not getting things, like that's
Yeah.
kind of part of the practice that eventually leads you to get that. And the other thing about the portfolio, you were mentioning like that sort of messiness and like lack of direction. The flip that's also really good about that is that if you're showing who you are, if you're showing yourself, the places that you want to be at will get you, because
Yep.
those places will see you for the mess that you are, and they'll see that as something good because they're responding to it. And that's almost what you want. You want to weed out whoever is not going to like you. You know what I mean? The first place I got to be a junior at is called Three-Headed Monster in Dallas, small ad agency, great place, highly recommend.
Great spot. Great spot.
Great spot. And their whole thing was about, like we are all blends of multiple skill sets. Like some of our account people have art backgrounds, like some of our art people have other backgrounds, and that's okay. That's what makes for a great diverse place. And so when they saw me, they were like, oh, she's a monster. Like she's a blend of a million different things. Like this makes no sense. This works for us.
I love that.
And I
Love that.
couldn't
Yeah,
have,
that's a special.
yeah,
That's a little bit unique for the industry. I think
yeah,
a lot of students and a lot of even entry level creatives, looking to kind of rise or progress. That can be kind of intimidating. Could you talk a little bit about what was the actual like? Obviously, all the work you put in and the energy is
yeah.
what gave you that opportunity. What
Mm-hmm.
was that tipping point of when Three Headed Monster? Like, how did you know to even apply there? How did
Yeah,
the interview go? Like, talk a little bit about the
yeah.
actual logistical process of probably that couple of months of getting in there.
Totally. So that first part is truly important. You can't just pop up senior year looking for jobs and just like that the first time you're thinking about it. Like you kind of have to have built up that experience. That's the most helpful thing. That's not talked about enough, in my opinion. So that's the first thing. And then for me, it was I am gonna shoot my shot everywhere, every single place. I'm not going to be picky about work from home, hybrid, in person, not in Dallas, in Ohio, in New York. Like, I don't care. I'm just going to have a conversation. Worst case scenario, they turn me down. Best case scenario, I talk to them and I learn something from them. And we can just go from there. And so I didn't cut my opportunities before the applying. The applying was like not intentional, I will say. It was kind of random, but it was the best thing that ever happened because when they saw me, they saw that I was what they were looking for, and you know, vice versa. Um, and then I was actually hired as a junior graphic designer because
Oh, okay.
that's how I was branding myself. I didn't even know what
Yeah.
an art director was at that point. And I
Wow.
got in and I just was myself and I just did what I did. And then 6 months into the job, the CEO, Sean, sat me down and was like, you've been acting like an art director. Do you want to be a junior art director? And I said to him, I don't know what that means, but okay. I
Yeah.
was like, okay. So there, it's very it seems uncalculated in a way, but the calculation really truly comes from being so in tune with what's your why? Why are you doing what you're doing? Does it truly drive you? Do you have the energy to go that above and beyond? Because that's what leads to those opportunities.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Beautifully
awesome.
aimless is my brand.
Beautifully. Yeah. Well, and yeah, kudos to you for your journey and your path, and it
Thank you.
sounds like
It's
your
been a fun one.
your continued energy and path on that.
Yeah.
Sounds like it's serving you well. What do you like? So you're at Havas now.
I'm a
What
Havas.
yeah. What are you working on? Like, what are some clients or broad
Yeah.
brushstrokes? What are you working on? Yeah.
Yeah. I am sort of a little bit of a jack of all trades. I get put on a lot of things, whatever's hot and crazy. which is a good thing. I am working on Moen, which is a faucet maker, beautiful luxury faucet maker. James Hardy home siding. I worked a little bit on our Hilton brands.
Nice.
We're working on a campaign for Chamberlain, which is a garage and home control technology. The app is called MyQ. People know that one a little bit more. Just
I
shot
have
in
some.
Bulgaria.
I have consumer feedback on my queue for you. So
Tell me, tell me. I love it. We just shot that
we'll sidebar after.
in
Yeah.
sidebar. Okay, I'll get the consumer feedback later.
Yeah.
Um,
Interesting.
we just shot that in Bulgaria. The clients are amazing. The campaign is coming together beautifully, so that's going to come out soon. I did a lot of Citibank work. That's a big part of what we do here at the Citibank, sort of like retail posters, stuff like that.
Awesome. Yeah, great clients, big clients.
A
What was
lot.
it? Tell me a little bit about that experience, going from Three-Headed Monster then to Havas. Like,
Ooh,
what was
yeah,
or so I guess maybe backing up just a little bit, what were some of the biggest takeaways from your
yeah.
first job? I mean, obviously you kind of, sounds like you learned about the industry really, like in that
Hmm.
first job. You know, what a great
Yeah,
kind of gift to be able to have that in that first job and not,
totally.
be one of those, it just seems like more and more agencies want people that like already are kind of like ready to go, kind of come out of the wrapper and be
Yeah.
ready to rumble. Where you had this great experience with Three-Headed
Oh my
Monster,
gosh,
where
totally.
they were still molding your experience and helping you kind of figure it out and get the light bulb to
Yeah,
come on. What were some other takeaways from that sort
yeah.
of like first, year? Was it a year and a half that you were at Three-Headed?
Year and a half. Truly, you painted it so accurately. Three-Headed Monster. I'm so grateful for that experience. It molded me so much. The fact that it was a small ad agency was so, I can now see in hindsight, was so helpful to me because everyone had to always have their hats on and play their role. There wasn't any kind of like, it's a small ad agency. Everyone needs to fill their seat. And so there wasn't a single time where it was like, let's not give it to the junior because like we don't have the time to teach them. Like they had to teach me because the
Yeah,
machine was
yeah,
moving. Then we had to
yeah,
go.
yeah.
And I got so much
Just
exposure to
for our
everyone.
listener,
Yeah,
just for our listeners, not that number of employees always denotes size exactly, but like
exactly.
it is a barometer. How many creatives or staff total was Three-Headed Monster?
I want to say, and when I came in, they had just gotten TikTok for small business as an account, so they were on an expansion. I want to say they went when I came on from like 30 to 50 people, if I remember
Wow,
properly.
yeah.
I was part
So
of
in
a
that
little
kind of
bit of growth
50
throughout,
give or take kind of
50
people,
give or
yeah.
take. Um,
So it's probably what,
and
15 creatives or something like that?
15 creatives. There were three CD level, one ACD, one CD, one GCD kind of teams. Um, and then about like I want to say like another three mid level, and then there was like a big group of juniors that came in, and
Nice.
then yeah, as you
Nice.
know, some come, some go.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome.
So I was part of that sort of wave. And yeah, what was really great about that experience is that I got a lot of really good sort of like learning time. I think truly what being a junior is all about is completely like giving yourself to the learning progress process. Like you are just a sponge. You ask all the questions, this mentality of like you can
You kind of
fail a
continue
little
that
bit.
say you say yes to everything, right? You
Yes,
continue
I
the kind of
continue
like,
continue the saying yes to everything. Part of the growth is to eventually you kind of have to curate and you have to start saying no to things. But it is really helpful at that time to say yes to everything, especially if you're fulfilling the basic necessities. That's really important because it can slowly, that yes to everything can slowly go the wrong way. I learned this. When you're not fulfilling your basic necessities, you have to do the basic, and then you can go above. We're
yeah.
not coming up with can
But
ideas without.
you have to go through it, right? You have to learn, you have to go
Yes,
through those experiences and live those
yes,
experiences. You have to kind of put
totally,
yourself out there. Yep.
totally.
Yep.
And I think my advice, if you don't get like a small ad agency as your first place, it doesn't mean that you can't still learn. I think taking initiative is so important. Like, find the people. If your first job is at Havas, find the people that are in charge of your growth. There's always going to be someone that's like your manager that is in charge, quite literally, of like seeing you go through this time and like learn and grow. Find that person, rely on that person, ask those questions, like make your world small. If you're in an internship and it's just so big and they're just not giving you anything and you're just kind of sitting there like, it's not my fault that I don't get work. Like, go to the next person in line, see what they're doing, and literally do their job. Like, like imitate what they're doing is what I'm trying to do.
Yeah,
And then
yeah,
take their brief and then say, oh, I'm going to take a stab at this. I have nothing to do. And
yeah.
then maybe show it to someone, maybe don't, but at least you're getting yourself work. Like, find your small world where you can just do and learn and ask
Yeah.
questions. Like, don't wait for the small ad agency experience if it doesn't come.
It's great. It's such great
It's what
advice.
happens. Yeah,
Yeah, we just had an experience. We just, we're ending intern season, just kind of wrapped up, for the summer, and we're moving into the
totally.
fall. And we had some fabulous interns across a lot of the departments, but a couple of the interns really stood out because they were kind of go-getters, and
Mm-hmm.
they would hear about things in the hallways or
Mm-hmm.
overhear, and just jump in, or
Yeah,
they would proactively go to like a
proactively.
director level person in the agency, maybe even outside of their department,
Yeah,
and say, hey, can I pitch in and help on this?
yeah,
And of course, people are going to go, yeah, of course. And,
totally.
and they're probably putting in some late night because they're still getting their other stuff done that we've assigned
Yeah,
them. So maybe they're putting in some weekends or late nights or early mornings, but it pays off because they get job offers, right? So
yeah,
it's like, the potential, like, those directors are
yeah,
impressed with the hustle. Like, it goes back to those hustle points, right?
totally.
So, I mean, it's like, you gotta really make it. You can't wait for something to just fall in
Yeah,
your lap because you're doing the process A to B to C. How do you circumvent the A to B to C and go from A to D to L, right? Like, how do you
yeah,
jump those things quicker, faster to kind of show up and get recognized, be noticed? Also, it's
yeah.
just kind of more fun, right? Like, it's
It
more,
is. Yeah.
if you pour yourself into it, right? It's just kind of more fun.
And you're kind of starting to get into the territory of what drives you, because it does take a lot of work. It does take a lot of energy. And if it's not like fun is a weird word because you're not saying like, oh, I'm having the joy of my life. Like, I'm up at 1 a.m. like cranking out this thing. But does it give you like fuel in your soul what you do, and why is it that you do it? You know what I mean? I think getting at that is also very helpful because it then propels you to go out and have that energy to do, because it takes a lot of energy
Yeah. I
for
mean, we
sure.
all define it different ways. For
Hmm.
me, I think it's fun. Like, I don't know, like, I sometimes wake up at 4 in the morning and just for some reason, like
Yeah,
a, a concept will pop in my head, and
yeah,
I'll just start journaling about it and like writing. And next thing I know, I'm writing scripts and I'm having coffee at 5 a.m., kind of coming up with like an idea, right? So it's
yeah.
like, I
You
don't
treat
know.
it like
I
a
think
game, like play.
I
Yeah,
think we are, yeah, I mean, there are many times that work is work, but I
yeah.
also think, and we have to kind of do certain things to kind of be responsible to the process and to our
Mhm.
teammates. But I do think we're kind of lucky to work in an industry, not just creatives. I think everybody in sort of advertising and marketing is in this really lucky, we're in this lucky spot to
Yeah,
be able to work on stuff where our
it's a dream.
contributions matter, our
Yeah,
contributions, we can kind of do this 1 + 1 = 3 thing as a
yeah,
job,
yeah,
and so I think if you give in to that, work
totally.
becomes work becomes fulfilling, work becomes fun, work becomes meaningful because you're contributing and your contributions matter. So
Yeah, there is so much beauty to that, and I do agree. We are so lucky, and I think especially as a junior, you have to remind yourself like maybe what you're doing right now, like if it's a heavy banner lift, if
yeah,
it's like a heavy crank out situation, like find the joy in that. Like find where the
Yeah.
places you can push are, and then remind yourself that it's not going to be that assignment for the rest of your life. Like there are more assignments to come. There are cooler things. And you can always be thinking like you don't have to be assigned to a cool project to think of cool ideas. Like you're still getting paid to bring ideas to the table. And that's sort of, I love what you said. It's not always 1+1=2. We get to build our own path and like build our own realities. So many jobs are so, this is what you do. We're standing at the beginning of the project. We know what the end is going to look like. We are so lucky that we get to sort of like figure it out and kind of define those things as we go. And there is so much beauty in that. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, Ellie, such great advice. And I think, man, we covered so much territory in your conversation, from sort of
Yay.
your history and your kind of energy and your perspective on how you made it work for you, but then also kind of I think just some of the important philosophical approaches that I think we all need to remember in the industry to not just survive but thrive.
I was gonna
Totally.
say you have so much wisdom for being like earlier in your career. I feel like a lot of people when they're still young are like worried or stressed. Like no matter where they are, it just feels like, oh man, when am I gonna make it? And I love your methodology to things. It's all a journey. It's okay to fail. Like a lot of that is just such mature. You're like inspiring me to keep that in mind today. Yeah.
Let's go. Keep the compliments coming. And I am so awesome. No, but it's true. Like we are able to talk ourselves out and down of so many things. Why don't we just flip it? Flip it. We can be so toxic to ourselves. Just do the same exact thing, but on the positive side. Like we are so capable. And being a junior is so filled with opportunity, and being at that point where you're entering this industry is so filled with opportunity. You have every route possible. Heck, if you're an art director, you could change to copywriter. Like this is the time to experience everything and like figure it out. And that's really cool and exciting, and just like not to miss that out on that. Yeah.
Love it.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah, so Ellie, do you have any other advice? I'd also just love to hear like what is inspiring you right now? Like what kind of work are you seeing in advertising that's like speaking to you? And yeah, any closing thoughts, any advice you want to give to our newbie followers?
Okay. What's inspiring me? I'm going to do a self ad agency plug here and shout out a Chicago work that we just put together.
Go Havas.
I have to. My bosses are telling me. No, just kidding. No one's telling me.
Is PR sitting behind you?
Yes, they have a gun to my head. No. It's not like that. It's truly very inspiring and cool. We just put together, not me, another team, but I am in so much awe of it and so much inspiration of it. They just put together a case study for a project that we did for the Red Stars. The Red Stars is the women's Chicago soccer team.
Yeah.
Essentially, I don't know if you guys have seen this one. It's super cool. It literally gives me chills. I mean, talk about like a project that is cool plus a case study that is really cool. Shout out if you haven't seen it. It was really cool. Essentially, what they did is the women's soccer team is really far away from Chicago. It doesn't typically get a lot of foot traffic. It doesn't get a lot of support. It doesn't get a lot of money, which leads to the women being underpaid, a whole bunch of plethora of things. And for one Saturday, I believe, or maybe it was a Sunday, don't quote me, they took over Wrigley Field, which is where the men's baseball team plays. And it was a huge, huge deal. It was super inspiring. The women in the team felt super empowered. They had a huge turnout, completely sold out. The video that Havas made to sort of like hype it up was so cool.
What a smart idea. Very smart. Right?
Yes. Speaking to the history of that field being such a like men's playground, and then it becoming like a center stage for women. It's so cool. It's those moments that you think to yourself, beautiful. Advertising can truly do good work, and there's cool stuff to be done. So that one's inspiring me. And then what was your other question? Your advice?
Yeah, any advice you've got for the newbie listeners?
Yeah. Don't be afraid to fail. That's the worst thing. If you're not doing something because you're scared to failing, like you're failing already because you're not doing it. So might as well just do it, get out there, do it wrong. It's advertising. No one's dying if you fail. Like, we're not scientists curing cancer. Like, lift yourself of that pressure, and just like let your beautiful, unique voice shine, because that's our best asset, all of us.
Love it.
Yeah.
That's
Awesome.
amazing.
Ellie, thank you so much, and really great to get to know you through the Noobs podcast here. Please stay in touch, and if anybody wants to learn more about Ellie, check her out on LinkedIn. I'm sure we'll be seeing your work here soon, published in case studies as well.
Aw,
I just think
thank you.
your energy and your philosophies and perspective are so helpful to the listeners out there. So
I appreciate it.
cheers,
It's
and
worked out so far. I'll let you go south at some point. I appreciate you guys having me on, and you guys are awesome. I hope y'all have a great rest of your day.
All right. Thank you so much. Take care. And see
Thanks.
everybody else on the next Noobs.